there are plenty of stocks out there that you can choose to invest in, but most of them really aren't that good. Today we're going to be looking at 3 growth stocks specifically that are smaller, you probably haven't heard of. They're somewhere between $5 and $15 billion market cap. They're just not super known. They're not like Apple, Google, Nvidia, Microsoft, those sort of things. Insight is the first one we're looking at. You may have seen the video I did a couple weeks ago if you're a subscriber and you watch most of my content. But other than that, probably new people have not heard of this stock. The last 5 years is 128%. That's outperforming the S&P 500, but maybe that doesn't sound super impressive, and I would agree with you. For a stock this small, that is not a phenomenal performance. However, if we're going back to early 2015, about a decade ago, which is a pretty good time frame to look at, they have gone up from about somewhere between 23 and 26. S&P 500 in that time frame is up about 200%. Clearly, you are outperforming the S&P 500. Now, you do have to note, okay, for the however many years since 1999 to 2015, they really only doubled. So a lot of this run-up has been recent, but still, this is a company that's done very well, and it's probably because the areas that they focus on. This is a company that does cloud computing, AI sort of stuff. They're in that realm. They kind of have their finger in a lot of different areas, but they only really need to hit on one or continue to grow in one or two of those areas to be very, very successful. And like I said, they've already have been pretty successful. Another thing, this company does not have a super high PE. You have 20 and a half PE. Ford PE is lower at 14 and a half. So this is a company that is growing fast and is significantly below the S&P 500, which has a PE of about 30 and a Ford PE of about 23. You are cheap. You're relatively cheap. And you may say, okay, their industry is good. Their PE is good. Their growth over, the last 10 years, 5 years is fine, but 10 years is really good. Why is it so cheap? Well, there's a number of reasons. They kind of didn't really hit growth they were quite expecting to. And then also, smaller companies in general, people don't know about them. You aren't talking about them on CNBC every day and night. And also, there is some more inherent risk with smaller companies. There's a lot more you could potentially get away with fraud and stuff. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it's a lot harder for Amazon to get away with that thing. Something like that versus something like Insight. There's less employees, it's just easier. So there's more inherent risk baked into smaller companies. Also, you need a lot less to go wrong for you to go under. So there's more risk with smaller companies, and it's kind of baked into the valuation. But other than that, it's almost, you try to find me a company over $100 billion right now that has grown at this rate and in the tech field that has a PE ratio lower than this. I challenge you to do that. If you can, leave them down in the comment section. But I think that's basically impossible. Casey's is another example of a stock that's done well. Over the last 5 years, we can see it's up 133%, and it has a somewhat of a dividend. So that's not bad. If we zoom out though, however, going back to 2015, you're up from about 95, somewhere high 80s, low 90s range. So you're outperforming the S&P 500 there as well, and pretty substantially. Also, this is not a tech stock, specifically Casey's General Stores. They're basically a gas station. I mean, a lot of the revenue probably comes from stuff indoors. They're kind of more in the Midwesty range, but this is a company that's done well, and it's not just the last 10 years. If you zoom out, go back to 2008, they've done even better. So over the last 15 to 16, right? Am I doing my math right? Yeah, 15 to 16 years. This is a company that's done very, 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 very well over the long term. Now there's a cap on the ceiling of it. It's maybe not the sexiest industry. Maybe you're worried about, gas not being used as much, and I would agree, all of those are good points. However, this is a company that has grown and grown and grown and grown and grown and grown. It just has. $14 billion market cap. Their PE ratio isn't incredibly high, 27.5. Ford PE 23. So you're valued right about at the S&P 500 for a stock, which if we're looking the last 15 years has absolutely mauled the S&P 500, like destroyed it. And over the last decade has outperformed it by a decent margin as well. And because they aren't incredibly huge, you would assume there's also room to grow. In something like a tech company, there's always room to grow, but something like a Walmart, right? You're kind of looking, okay, how many places in the US can you really expand to? Casey's doesn't necessarily have that issue. Now, is this my absolute favorite stock even in the list? No, but still, I want to give you guys a variety, not just tech stock. So I think Casey's is a decent, small-ish market cap growth stock that you can take a bet on or two. AeroVironment is the last one we're looking at today. This one is a little bit different than the other two. It's kind of right around the same size as Insight, however, very different. Their PE sticks out the most, 96. Usually I do not cover stocks with PE ratios anywhere near that, unless they have something with GAAP, like in AMD, where that PE ratio above 100 really isn't accurate. But you can see the forward PE here is 56. That is still very high. However, when you're a company that is in the industry they are, and I haven't said that yet, you're probably wondering why. They do specific defense stuff. They do drones. Which, if you haven't been paying attention to the Ukraine war, which I don't blame you if you haven't, but a lot of that combat is drones. And what we're looking at in the future, and you've probably heard about it, but it's like dramatic. It's dramatic. There's going to be a lot of money poured into drones. Now, I understand maybe there's a subset of you not interested in defense stocks. Totally fine. I get that. However, probably a majority of people watching this video don't necessarily care about that. And that's just how it is. So something like drones there's going to be money poured into them. It's just reality. Not just the United States. This is a US based company. And they've done well. I mean, we're looking up from 26, mid 20s a decade ago. Now we're at 164. So they've done very, very well. Some of that valuation, probably, 100 or 200% of that, so let's say a doubling or two. So maybe you'd be at, like, if you're at a normal PE range, you'd be at 90, which is still a good performance. So if you just pretend this was at 30 and this was, half as much, you'd still have a pretty good performance. But a lot of that is, okay, we're growing pretty fast, and you would expect a lot of money to go into this. So probably, if you were really going to buy in on drones and that sort of thing, I'd probably find a couple other companies, throw whatever a small portion of money is at a couple of them, and one of them is likely to hit. I'm not certain AeroVironment is going to get all the money, all the contracting from the US government or other governments. I do not know that. However, if you want to bet on drones being successful in the future, I'm nearly convinced. Personally, I mean, just when you just look at how effective they are, how cheap they are, it's a really good bargain. So I think AeroVironment has a chance to, when you're looking at a stock like Casey's, right, it's going to grow. I think it's going to perform pretty well. AeroVironment is one of these where if they do well, this could be, and I know this is an extreme scenario, but this could be a company worth $50 billion in a decade. 50 billion market cap in a decade, which is very well. I don't think it's going to do that. I'm not saying it's going to do that, but this is a stock that has the chance to do that. And with the growth they're having, that sort of thing, it's just kind of the right environment to have a PE this high. But also, like I said, if they hit that out of the park, this could be a stock that does very, very, very well. So anyways, that's all I got for this video, guys. If you enjoyed, I appreciate it if you like or subscribe. I do daily stock content on this channel, everything from these kind of compilation videos where I show you a couple stocks, and then videos where I go more in depth into them. So if you did enjoy it, I appreciate you liking them, subscribing, but I just also appreciate you guys for watching and enjoying my content. So I'll catch you next time.